Hello and welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, and SoundCloud. And if you're listening to us on iTunes right now, go ahead and leave a 5-star review. I very much appreciate all of the reviews you guys have left so far. Quick shout out to a couple of my stand-up dates. This Thursday, I'll be headlining the Stress Factory in Bridgeport, Connecticut. And then I'm off to Point Pleasant Beach in New Jersey. I'll be with comedians of the Compound on this Saturday, July 17th. I think it's the East Brunswick Mall. I think it's Uncle Vinny's. These details are all in my website. And then that following Tuesday, the 20th, I'll be headlining Jinx right on the boardwalk there at Point Pleasant Beach. And then I'm heading to New Orleans, August 13th and 14th. I'll be performing at the Comedy Theater down there. It's a new theater that's opened up. I'm really excited to perform there. It's been a couple years since I've been down there. And then back to Vegas, September 10th and 11th with comedians of the Compound. We'll be doing shows at the Plaza Hotel. There is a club down there called the Comedy Works. We'll be performing there with all the boys you know and love from Compound Media. And then I'll be back to Texas September 17th and 18th headlining Hyenas in Dallas. So for tickets and details, go to my website, ChrissieMayr.com. Please and thank you. Quick shout out to our sponsor, Cushy Dreams. If you haven't heard of them yet, I don't know what you've been living under a rock. They're my go-to for all things CBD. They specialize in extraordinary CBD-rich hemp flower, aka bud, in cans and pre-roll CBD joints like I have right here. They come in packs of 5, very tidy, very convenient, very put in your purseable or in your pockets. You can enjoy all the health benefits of CBD without getting high. There's under 0.3% THC in all these products. It's cannabis that ships directly to you. It's legal in all 50 states. Join the men and women who are sick of vapes and gummies and want to smoke their CBD. Looks, smells, feels just like high quality marijuana, and it tastes like it too. They take the artisan approach. Every run is in a small batch, 100% hand trimmed, never machine trimmed. This stuff is super quality. Each batch is slow cured for 2 to 4 weeks to guarantee maximum freshness and preserve flavor and cannabinoids. And best of all, it's grown here in the USA. They come in different indica sativa blends like energy, hustle, relax, create, dream, etc. So go to cushydreams.com, that's Kushy, and get some high quality CBD. But at checkout, use promo code CMP. You're going to get 20% off every order. Get your CBD and get relaxing now. I should make up my own little song, my own little ditty. All right, I'm excited to have this guy on the podcast today. We met in Vegas a couple weeks ago at what do we call it? Schaefer Fest. It was like a mini influencer festival. We're going to talk about it. We're going to get into it. He is a correspondent for Newsmax. He's a content creator. He's really the next big thing. Big fan of his work. Welcome to the show, James Klug.
Hey, thank you for having me, Chrissy. I'm very excited to be on. Also, I wanted to mention you need to come perform in California, specifically Southern California.
Why?
Because, well, you know, the fans they need this. Or maybe I need this.
They need all this and my jokes. I was thinking about doing a trip to LA because I want to like go get nails with Gina Carano or something. And I haven't been there since like last year. I was there. That was like the last show I did. Just about the last show I did before all the lockdowns and shutdowns.
Yeah, we got to get you back.
So how has California been for you? I mean, I think you told me you're in like a decent part. You're not in like the LA shithole.
Yeah, people always like ask me that. How are you in California? You're like a right-wing content creator.
We can move on. Next question. No.
Yeah, exactly. But they always ask me that, and Orange County, we're red, kind of purple sometimes, but Orange County is pretty conservative, and we have a great Sheriff Don Barnes that you can get your concealed carry weapons permit here, so it's very awesome for maybe women that
Ooh.
want to carry and stuff like that. Like carrying a gun in California seems like the craziest thing. Like nobody knows that you can do that. Los Angeles, what, an hour away? You can't do that at all. There's no chance of you getting a concealed carry weapons permit, but Orange County can, so it's pretty cool. Beautiful here. I don't know. It's tough. It's tough. The weather's too good. Maybe if they destroy Orange County as well, as you know, like they have done with the rest of the state, maybe I'll consider leaving. But for now, it's a nice little bubble. I don't know.
That's kind of how I feel about where I live in New York. It's like I'm not in the city, I'm away. It's like, okay, it's away from the craziness, and it's like you can kind of work and do whatever we're doing from kind of anywhere, as long as you have a decent kind of like home setup and you travel. I mean, you've been all over, James. I want to get into how you started doing this, because if you guys check out James's YouTube channel, just have tons of footage from almost like every major riot and everything that's been going on. Did you start like right last summer, or was your interest in this prior to all the BLM stuff?
So I started wanting to create like a political commentary YouTube channel like in high school, but I never really had the balls to do it because it's spooky.
It's
to put it lightly.
spooky.
Yeah, it's spooky. But I think eventually, I think in like 2016, a lot of people were like, okay, this is the time to do it. So you saw a lot of people start creating, Fleckus Talks, Elijah Schaefer. They started a little bit before me, but I had a full-time job, right? I was pursuing whatever my dream was. I think it was just money.
That's everyone's dream. Yeah.
Yeah. And I started a YouTube channel and started doing man on the street content, like conservative right-leaning content. And I kind of put my own little twist to it and everything like that. And the YouTube channel started growing. And it eventually got to a point where I thought I could do it full time, or I knew I could at least. And what's originally a hobby, you kind of look at it and you're like, wait, I can do this for work. That's pretty cool. So now I do my work's my hobby, and it's like one of the best feelings in the world, to be honest with you. And I didn't just jump into it. I did it on the side from work and everything like that. And then this last year, I slowly started to implement doing, in 2020, slowly started to implement actually reporting, because what we noticed is people weren't really telling the truth about these riots that were happening, everything like that.
Nope.
The only reporters that were there were like, Antifa friendly reporters that film what they want to film, and they don't film people committing crimes. They don't film any of this stuff. CNN's famous for that Kenosha scene where they're saying fiery but mostly people. I mean, that's just a joke.
Yeah.
It's a joke. And so a handful of people definitely got into like the riot scene of filming riots as well. So not only do I create content that I believe is informative, stuff like that, like man on the street content where I interview people, but I also do important reporting on pretty tense situations as well, stuff that a lot of people don't want to go out and do. So now it's full time. I started full time like 8 months ago or so, and I love it.
Was it Kenosha that made you realize the media was not being honest with how they covered these riots?
I saw we started catching on to that right away. Honestly, it was way before that. That was just like one of the famous ones, to be honest with you. I mean, we started seeing this stuff right away. And you would go to these demonstrations. It doesn't matter if it was like Black Lives Matter or Antifa or whatever it was, where you have people in black bloc waving Antifa flags. And by the way, I went to peaceful Black Lives Matter demonstrations as well, right? But
both of them, yeah.
yeah, I'll go to all of them, and I'd let them know, hey, this one's peaceful. But unfortunately, a lot of them were completely out of control, specifically in like Portland and in places like maybe DC. And we started seeing that their approved media was the only media that was allowed to be there. And these people, I don't know. It's like their whole movement kind of contradicts each other, right? Like they want, you almost think that they're the good guys fighting for equality, all this stuff, but then they beat the crap out of people in the street that are reporting that they don't consider to be friendly because they don't film propaganda for them. That's bad news. So we caught that stuff early on. They do not like having outside reporters or anything there. Because guess what those people do? They film you when you're committing crimes and stuff like that. And I'll film Proud Boys doing something, or I'll film Antifa doing something. Just so happens that Antifa does a lot more than Proud Boys generally. But, we film everything. If there's something crazy going on, we're there, or I'm there, and I'm documenting it for people to see, right? People on social media can just go bypass mainstream media, like they were, not tuning into CNN, but actually going to social media and be like, oh, this is how it actually looked at that scene. Wow, there's mass looting there. I didn't know that. They didn't cover that. A lot of this stuff was inconvenient for them to cover. So that's kind of where I come in.
That's such a red flag. Like, if whatever you're doing out in public can only be covered by certain media, like, that should show you. I mean,
Well,
like, if what you're doing is good, like, who cares who's covering you? Don't you want as much press as possible?
Yeah, it's this is why, like, people make fun of, Antifa. You go talk to people in the street, and I'll ask people about Antifa that, like, want to defend Antifa for Lord knows what reason. There's no reason to defend groups like this. And they say, oh, well, I'm anti-fascist, aren't you? So with a lot of these movements, they hide behind names that are like on the surface, you're like, yeah, excellent. Okay, but it's important to know what the movement does, right? If that anti-fascist group beats the crap out of reporters in the street because they disagree with them, literally just politically, and or they just don't think they're on their side, quote unquote. That's not an anti-fascist movement. That is a that is a street fascist movement. You guys are the fascists if you are oppressing your opposition, or not even opposition, but just people that are willing to film everything. And they do this all the time, right? They do this all the time to where people get lost in the semantics of it. Semantics, is that right word?
Yeah.
People get lost in, like, the name, so people that don't look into it are like, oh yeah, I'm anti-fascist 100%.
And how clever of them to pick, like with Black Lives Matter. Well, anyone who is against the idea, of course, everyone believes Black Lives Matter, just like Asian Lives Matter, just like puppy lives matter. It's like, if you're clever and you pick a name that nobody can kind of deny, well, then that gives you license to kind of do some other shit too.
Yeah, they do this all the time. They do it with, like, literally everything. They'll name bills something just absolutely absurd, and everyone's like, okay, well, that sounds pretty good, doesn't it? Like, that sounds pretty cool. And then you dig into it and you're like, holy crap, this thing's stuffed with pork, and it's literally the worst bill on the face of the earth. They do this all the time, and that's why it's really important to, like, on my channel, I try to educate people. I have multiple videos, or at least, yeah, I have a handful of videos on Black Lives Matter and stuff, because we actually talk about, like, what they stand for. Now, if that represents what you as an individual stand for, right? Maybe you're like a Marxist individual and you support that. Hey, that's your decision at that point. I'll strongly disagree with you, but whatever. But most people just fall for the title. They fall for the title and they say, oh yeah, 100%, like Black Lives Matter, absolutely, fist up, let's go. But that's not how it is. Once you have to peel back like one layer and you can see that it's an anti, radically left, anti-police movement, stuff like that. And a lot of, minorities in this country, a lot of just average Americans, once they peel back that top layer, they say, ooh, this isn't really for me. You know what I mean? And that's why the defund the police movement, that's lost a lot of steam. I just did a video on it the other day, and in Los Angeles, and a lot of people, they don't really support it. You have homicides and you have shootings skyrocketing. Los Angeles year to date is 24% increase in homicides so far. Maybe it wasn't the best idea to be pushing for defunding the police. That's not the best play.
Unless you can afford private security, you're gonna have an issue with that.
Defund the police is for the rich elites that want to see everything burn, basically. That's the only people that it benefits. It doesn't benefit the folks that are in inner city communities or anything like that. Because guess what? The people that aren't being defunded, the people that aren't going to have less police, are going to be the tourist attractions. Beverly Hills. Mm-hmm. Beverly Hills isn't going to have less cops. Mr. Moneybags getting on the phone. He's going to say, hey, we need more police over here because we're not going to tolerate this nonsense. And who's left in the dust? The communities that need police the most. The communities that struggle. They don't have opportunities as much. There's the schools are riddled with gangs. The local communities riddled with gangs. Everything like that. That's what affects the most. And a lot of people, I think, have woken up to that. And I think it's kind of blowing up in the Democrats' faces this year. It certainly doesn't have as much support as it did last year because there's so much political pressure last year to where people were just like, yeah, don't shoot me. I agree with you. Like, leave me alone.
And shouldn't that show people, like, if cops are really so racist and shooting tons of unarmed black people left and right, and it's such a huge problem, like, well, now in the last year, like, cops in big cities have been sort of, at least I've really noticed in New York City, like, scared to do their jobs, really pulling back, and like, so it's like what everybody said was going to come of this didn't come of this. In fact, everything the other crimes spiked up, and it got way worse.
Yeah, there was this video. I forgot. I mean, I'm sure some of the listeners will definitely know, but I totally forgot where it was. But there was a guy that walked out of an apartment building with a gun, and you see in the video, the officer just sees that and says, "I'm out of here. Like I'm leaving. I don't need to deal with this." He runs down the stairs or something like that. I'm sure people know what I'm talking about. But yeah, that was a recent video that surfaced, and you're just like, "Oh my God!" Like you are getting police officers that are afraid to do their jobs, no doubt. We have the entire riot rapid response team in Portland that resigned maybe about, what was that, maybe a month ago now, a few weeks ago now.
Yeah.
So they're all over it. They don't have any support from their local communities. In some, of course, police officers do have a lot of support in some communities, but like places like Portland, district attorney doesn't prosecute anybody. It's just a revolving door. It's a total mess. So the officers kind of look at it as endangering their lives for no reason, right? They're making an arrest and they're doing all of that and risking all of that just so this person can just be let go the next day or week or whatever. It's a complete joke. And it really, last year really damaged policing in this country. And the truth is, we can always improve policing, just like we can with anything else in this country. We can improve policing, we can improve military, whatever it may be. But when it comes to unarmed shootings in this country, if you look at the data over the last, let's say, just 10 years, it's plummeted to where we have 330 million Americans. We have 1 million police officers in this country. And the data pretty much just shows statistical outliers. And that offends a lot of people, but it's true. You have like 1 year, like I said, 330 million Americans, 1 million police officers. We have a lot of crime in this country. We have a lot of gang activity. We have a lot of, there's even mistakes. However, mistakes make up the, for unarmed police shootings, it's mistakes and bad cops is the tiniest bit, but Black Americans, I think, last year, maybe 15 unarmed police shootings. White Americans usually hovers around 25 or so. And it usually reflects pretty spot on, actually, if you compare the unarmed police shootings percentages with violent crime arrest percentages. It pretty much lines right up. And, that makes a lot of sense, doesn't it? If someone's being apprehended for something crazy and maybe they're resisting arrest, that leaves room for an officer to, one, screw up, or the person is too violent, because you can do a lot of damage when you're unarmed. Some of these unarmed shootings are people in cars trying to ram police officers, right? So, yeah, we've done a lot of videos on that, just kind of explaining to people, like, unarmed police shootings is low. We can maybe get a little bit lower, but there will always be room for, as long as there are police officers that are human beings and not cyborgs, there's always room for, one, bad apples, although that is the minority in this case. Two, mistakes, that happens. And three, just unarmed police shootings that end up the person's unarmed. Maybe they're on top of the officer beating the crap out of them or something like that. So yeah, I'm not sure how much lower it can actually get. And that's the biggest problem here is folks that see it politically advantageous to bring this stuff up and talk about this stuff, they thrive off it. Every single unarmed police shooting they use to raise money or power grab or whatever it is, or take, destroy police departments and make the rest of the community less safe. It's a really dangerous road that we're down. But we just got to educate people, and that's really all we can do.
It's really one person at a time. And optics are so important. That's why what you do, James, is so important, because when people think of the way that George Floyd died, they don't think of how many drugs he was on, and they don't think of, the fact that he was a career criminal. They don't think of like what he was actually doing to be questioned by the police. All they think of and remember is like just the visual with like Chauvin with his knee on his neck. And that's what, I don't know if people just have much shorter attention spans or just optics are just so damn powerful, but it's optics really just
powerful.
Yeah. little by little, it just takes a little bit. We have to just take a chunk out of that mainstream narrative.
And they grab a shocking video and they leverage it for political reasons, because the truth is, this is not even on the list of 100 things that are actually damaging in this country that are happening, that needs to be dealt with, that are systemic issues. Police shootings, unarmed police killings, everything like that. That is not even on the list of top 100. Now, it is. We can say that it's a thing that we could try to resolve, but like I mentioned, most of them are just statistical outliers. There's really not that many. And every single time this stuff happens, people just leverage it for politics. They leverage it to say, oh, well, America's systemically racist. With what evidence do you have that? I mean, you're showing me one incident, and yeah, sure, there's a few throughout the year and stuff, but we're a massive country. There's going to be a few throughout the year. This is the most equal country on the face of the earth, the most diverse country on the face of the earth. Black Americans, their family median income, they make the highest out of any country in the world. We have more Black Americans in spots of political power compared to any other country that's comparable to us. This is a great place for all different types of Americans to live. And people see a couple videos and they want to sell you the idea that America's this big racist country that needs to be just totally flipped upside down and totally redone, when that's just not the truth. You know what I mean?
Do you ever get like angry or frustrated because you do a lot of man on the street stuff, and I think mostly for Newsmax. I mean, you do your own stuff for your YouTube channel, but for Newsmax, I've seen you'll kind of like do reporting. And do you ever get like, I don't know, angry or frustrated with the people you talk to on the street? Because there's been a lot of like dumb responses, but they represent all of the American public, so it's important to see what they're thinking.
Well, I want to start with one thing. Okay. A lot of people will look at the videos and stuff, and in my videos, there's a few purposes behind them, right? It's to show people kind of what just people are saying, what folks on the left are saying, etc. Now, it's obviously a small pool, but it's generally a decent reflection. If I'm being totally honest, it's generally a decent reflection of what the populace thinks, because these people get this information. This is why it's so interesting. They get this information from the mainstream media. They're just regurgitating what they're hearing. Maybe they listen to the Young Turks or something like that. They're getting this information. They just repeat it. So it's really interesting to see what they're consuming and what they're repeating. Now, as for the initial question, like, do I get frustrated? No, not really, actually. I'm pretty darn patient, and I'm not sure if that's just who I am or if I've just done it for so long. I have people that scream in my face, like just lose their minds. And I always think, keeping your cool is probably the best way to do it, because a lot of my videos, we have these videos called Let's Talk. So we put these on pause because I am doing content for Newsmax now. We'll see if we pick those back up soon. But the purpose of those videos was for me to have an opinion and for me to respectfully get that opinion out, because that's kind of what I encourage, right? I have friends that are Bernie Sanders supporters, friends that are Trump supporters, all this stuff. And yeah, sure, we'll tease each other and stuff like that, but I'm not going to cut people off just because they disagree with me. I try to be pretty easygoing because I want to encourage people to be open-minded and everything like that. And so, yeah, it doesn't really bother me that much when people are kind of just telling me nutty stuff. If anything, it's kind of good, because the folks at home that are watching these videos, they can say, okay, well, I'm not very political, or maybe I'm a little bit left-leaning. I'm watching one of James's videos, my video. I'm talking about myself in the third person. Maybe they're watching the video and saying, okay, well, I'm left-leaning, but I like what James is saying, and I'm definitely not like that crazy person. I mean, if that's a lesson learned right there, just one, that's excellent. That's I'm super happy with that. And it's not so much about changing the person's mind in the specific video. Let's say I'm talking to someone, it's an intense political conversation. It's not so much about changing that person's mind. It's really about reaching people at home that maybe are apolitical, or they're like my brother. He doesn't like follow politics at all, but it's like, maybe people are a little bit curious about a topic and they like one of my arguments. They think it's sound. And maybe I can change minds that way. I mean, that's really the goal. And there, of course, is like an entertainment aspect there, right? Like there's some funny parts of the video, stuff like that. But yeah, I I'm pretty easygoing when it comes to, just to wrap that up. I'm pretty
No,
easygoing when it comes to people that disagree with
have the patience of a saint. Like
me.
I watch I watch your channel and Flecka's and like Elijah when he was doing more man on the street, and like I start to get anytime, I don't know if like any of the viewers feel this way too, but if I'm watching a man on the street and I see like usually the person answering because they're getting frustrated, they're getting anxious because like they're regurgitating their points and it's not like adding up, and then you ask just a regular question and they're like, oh, they can't pull anything up fast enough, or it like conflicts with their own common sense, and they get more and more frustrated and they raise their voice, and then maybe it's human nature because then they want to fight with you because they'd rather make it about you, the conflict about you, than them. Nobody wants to look stupid. That's something I've learned. That's a real hard lesson over the last year, half 100%. Year. People would rather knock you out in a Victoria's Secret than look stupid on a video.
Yeah, and that's the funny part too. You think about that and you're like, wait, okay, so you feel as though you don't have an argument here, which is that's fine. And really all you have to say is, hey, you know what, I'm not that well versed in this actually. That's really all you have to say, and that's for me, that's a totally respectable response. I like when I get people saying that stuff. Oh, hey, I you know what, I don't know that much about this. Maybe you could, if you want to try and convince me of your point, that's great. But that's really all people have to say, and instead people choose to die on a hill of I'm right, screw you, and then they go on the personal attacks. The personal attacks is the thing that makes you look the worst, right? Like if you get me in a video and I'm being like, oh wow, you're fat and ugly and I'm better than you, that's not a good argument. I mean, you're just being a jerk. But my
has anybody called you fat and ugly, James?
No, but people. I mean, people say like the craziest stuff, you know what I mean? Like they'll say it straight to your face. It's pretty unbelievable. They'll brag about maybe having a college degree or something. And I'm just like, wow,
oh God,
I worship you. Thank you so much for your service.
I wasted so much money. Stop questioning me. I have a degrry. It's on my wall.
They do stuff like that, but yeah, I mean, they just go after you in whatever way that they can. But what was I gonna say? Right, the best comments for videos. You know, when you have a good video and the person commenting or something is like, "Hey, I had to stop in the middle of that video and like drink some water because these people are out of their freaking minds." That's always a fun one as well. You know, like you don't have to work too hard to find pretty shocking stances from people. You really don't. Not in California, at least.
They're so dumb. They make me thirsty. I didn't know if that was possible. Is that one of the benefits of staying in California? You feel like you have access to like a lot of brainwashed libs?
Well, I really like talking to Democrats. It's just more entertaining to me. I know it sounds kind of weird, but
that's really great because I would get nervous. Like I feel like when I this was what I was gonna say earlier, when I feel someone disagreeing with me and it's conflict and it's rising and rising, I immediately there's something inside me, like I brace for impact. And I don't know if that's because like of my dad growing up, like I would like tick him off and then it'd be like bam. So I feel like I would always be like, you know, after conflict comes like someone's gonna get hit, and then so whenever I hear that, like even if I hear people fighting, I'm like, that's why I hate fighting and conflict, because I'm just like, oh, someone's gonna get hit.
Yeah, it's just more fun, and you know, you do have to try to like just, you know, be as respectful as possible. It's okay to challenge people, and that's where a lot of people get like confused, is like if you are challenging someone, there's something inherently aggressive about that, kind of like what you're saying, right? You're like bracing for, you're like, ooh, this is kind of intense. But if you do it respectfully, I think there's certainly a way to where, yeah, sure, the person might completely disagree with you, but they're not going to usually walk away screaming and shouting and stuff like that. There's a fine line you can kind of reach. But yeah, we've tried filming videos in I think Florida and stuff. There's certain videos that you can get, you know, that are interesting to people if people have a question and folks in Florida can answer it and stuff. But usually my videos, I'm talking to people that disagree with me most of the time, right? That's why Los Angeles is a great place to film. New York, DC, stuff like that. Portland. And, you know, because I think it's important to educate people on like at home, you know, that are watching videos and stuff, of what the thought process of these individuals are. And I try to, you know, if we go with one question, I put as many people in the video as possible. And usually you get all different sorts of responses and everything like that. But Yeah, it's usually, I mean, I can like expect a response and I'll get exactly that response. And it doesn't take much work, right? We're there for an hour and a half, 2 hours filming. You're getting this response over and over again. One example I'll give you, I actually have this video being released probably tomorrow. And
Ooh, what's it
yeah.
about?
So this one was really interesting. And there's been videos done that are similar, but not quite. And so I asked people in Los Angeles, I wanted to know, like, is the American flag becoming a partisan symbol? It seems as though there's a lot of conflict around the American flag with folks on the left in the United States. And so I wanted to know, I asked people, if you see someone with wearing an American flag on their shirt, do you form any kind of opinions about them? Now, you really shouldn't, right? Oh yeah, proud American, awesome, love that. But everyone was saying, oh, Trump supporter, right winger, all this stuff.
Wow.
How on earth is the American flag becoming such a partisan symbol where I go out for an hour and get 10 responses of people saying, Trump supporter, right winger, oh, it's racist, oh, screw America. It's like, go somewhere else. What are you doing? Like, why are you still here? It's like someone being in your house and being like, Chrissie, your furniture sucks. Also, that TV's too small. Wow, like this place is a dump. And you're just like, why are you in my apartment?
I'd be like, bye.
Why are you
I'm not gonna invite you over again. Yeah. And I think that our leaders lean into this, like they made fun of like the lack of 4th of July decorations, but they might have been similar to like previous years. But there's been so many examples, like what was it? Was it Mother's Day or something, or Father's Day, where like Kamala Harris, like, and Biden, they're not really like shouting it out. They'd rather be like, oh, like make a big deal about Juneteenth than mention Mother's Day or Father's Day. And they kind of lean into being a little bit anti-American, not being patriotic. And if the symbol for the country is associated with one side, like, wouldn't you think that that's the better side? Like the side that loves the country more?
Yeah, I think, and by the way, I just took a sip of water and went down the wrong pipe, so I'm dying right now. But
oh, no.
Yeah. So I think a lot of what we're seeing is it's really unfortunate because the Democratic Party, I mean, like classic liberalism, true liberalism, I probably identify as that, to be honest. Like a classic liberal, like a person that believes in individual liberties and like strong on American values, strong on gun rights, everything like that. And I think what the party's really turned into, or is slowly starting to turn into, is a party that is not proud to be American at all. They're not proud of America. They're not proud of the accomplishments of America. And I mean, I always say this, but like it seems as though the only part that they enjoy about the country, like at all, is the geographical location. I swear to God.
Wow.
And it's reflected in almost every single thing that they do. I mean, there's this recent discussion about voter ID laws and all that stuff happening in Texas. Joe Biden's coming out saying, "Oh, well, this is the worst America's." What did he say? What did he say exactly? He compared it to they're comparing it to Jim Crow constantly.
Oh God,
Well,
right. And it's like, you sneaky bastards. It's like, you're just doing this so you can continue to like fudge the ballots. It's like, don't make it everything about racism.
It's insane because there are people that believe this and will repeat this, right? So if I go out on the street and I go talk to people, I guarantee you that we get people repeating this stuff.
Yep.
Now, how do you defend that? How do you defend comparing today's America with 1950s like America? How do you defend that? Well, you can't. So that's where a lot of these arguments just totally crumble, and it's all politics. And it's sad because their politics is having to divide the country in such a way that people believe, oh, it's such a racist country, it must change, all of this stuff. If your policies are so bad that you count on destroying the social fabric of this country, destroying race relations in this country to get your way, your ideas probably aren't that good. Because I don't need to do that to let's say I have an opinion or something like that. I don't need to say, like, just completely lie to people's faces. I can provide them with facts. I can make my point. And if they like my argument, they like my argument. But yeah, we're really getting into a spot in this country where it's pretty detrimental to our society. I mean, it really is, and unfortunately, their political beliefs rely on completely tearing everything apart. And
Whereas you would
that
think a
goes for
good,
everything.
yeah, you would think like a good policy or idea would acknowledge where we truly are instead of destroying what is, right? I mean, I'm not like I wasn't like a poli sci major, but it's like you should kind of like accept reality. But that's the thing is like we're all questioning what is reality, you know, and the mainstream media has done like a really good job. I feel like there's two entirely separate realities going on.
I totally agree with you. And it's like, sometimes you think to yourself, you're like, wait, hold on. Like, am I missing something here? Or are you straight up comparing this with Jim Crow? Because
Hmm.
this doesn't make any sense. I don't know how you're drawing these conclusions, but here's the thing. They've discovered that, well, they already know that they dominate the media. They're 95%, roughly 90+% of the mainstream media. Your average American at home is consuming left-wing media. So if they repeat lies enough, and there's a saying, but that I can't repeat because I don't freaking remember it. But
She's
if
not
they repeat,
brainwashed.
yeah, if they repeat lies enough, it becomes just kind of a truth. Like people buy it, right? To where, I mean, God, I could give a billion examples
God,
of
wasn't
this.
there the one thing where like you were like, oh my God, all these guys have the same script and somebody cut it together where every mainstream media outlet was saying, this is a threat to our democracy. This is a threat. Like they would
They
use the
just
exact same language.
they use the same stuff and they constantly lie about it. And you know, it's actually incredibly effective because they know the mainstream media is there to catch them, right? So they can lie about, let's say, uh, I mean, there's a billion things. I'll pick one. Stop Asian hate. They decided to turn this into a white supremacy thing. Stop Asian
That
hate,
lost
right?
steam quickly.
Yeah, and why is that? It's because I think a study showed 90% or so of the hate crimes against Asian people were minorities in like inner city communities. Now, um, that needs to be dealt with, and the facts matter in these situations because how do you solve something if you're just lying about it the whole time? But they wanted to pin it on white people. They wanted to, oh, racist white people destroying the country, all this stuff, and it was repeated over and over and over and over again. And it did not matter that it wasn't the truth because it was their truth, and that trumps the truth. Their truth trumps the truth in the media, and they know that they can get away with it for as long as possible. So for right now, they're saying this is the greatest attack, on our country since the Civil War or something like that when it comes to
Hmm.
voter ID laws. And you're like, am I missing something, or are you guys just losing your minds? Like, it's none of it makes
Yeah.
any sense. But if they continue to lie about it, they feel like they could just hammer their truth down in your head because eventually people are going to believe it. And,
I
and they do
imagine,
this with countless things.
yeah, there's probably so many like newsrooms like yelling to each other. What do you mean we don't have any footage of a white person beating up an Asian person? Like, go get it. Go find it. Find
I
it.
don't care that it's hard to find.
Mhm.
Go find it. Like,
Then you go
it's just
outside and punch
propaganda.
one. Yeah.
I know it's just becoming propaganda, and they do this with every aspect of our lives when it comes to hammering in their truth and ignoring the truth, and it's incredibly damaging. Obviously, I do have a bias in my videos and stuff like that because I believe that there is a certain way to go about things, usually traditional American values, stuff like that. And big believer in that good old trusty Constitution, but. I also am not going to just straight up lie to people to get my point across. Like, if it's totally obvious, then I'm like, okay, this is ridiculous. Like, that's why, you look at the Stop Asian Hate thing and you're like, this holds no water. What are you guys doing? Oh, right. You're
Nobody
just trying to
hates
divide the
Asian
country more.
people. They're making our phones. They're doing our nails. They're doing our dry cleaning. Come on. We got a super chat from Middle Age Crazy. Thank you so much. Wow, this might be the biggest one ever. Really enjoy the live streams. Can't always catch them because of work, but wanted to show my support. Thanks, Middle Age Crazy. I
Middle
love
Age Crazy rocks. Look at that. You rock, Middle
I
Age
think I
Crazy.
saw a question here for you, but now it's lost in all the other
Uh-oh.
regular chats. Do you feel like you're making a difference, James? Do you feel like your videos are starting to chip away?
Chrissy, I'm gonna get deep on you right now, okay? Yeah, I feel as though, and this is so more of how I like feel, right? I feel like right now is the first time in my life to where, like, you know, ever since I pretty much went full time creating content, everything like that, first time in my life that I actually truly feel like I am making a big difference. And to me, it's like, you know, there's like a serious purpose here for me. It's not that there's just a you know, a fun way to make money or something like that. Like it's a pretty darn hard way to make money. So it's not about the money.
It's not just that you're so photogenic. It's not just you're like.
It's not just that I have a great beard. It's not about that. No.
The bone structure, your teeth, your smile. I gotta get it out there.
Yeah. No, it's not about me. It's about the message, and it's about educating people at home. And you know, we have seen the videos grow to more and more views. Recently, I joined on board with, how do you say that? Joined on board with Newsmax.
Yes.
And now we have a segment that we're releasing here kind of shortly, to where we're just trying to reach as many people as possible with these videos. Some are fun, right? Some are fun. Some are just like political entertainment. Others are a little bit more useful and like, you know, educational, stuff like that. And yeah, I mean, I have students reach out to me that say, hey, I watched this video and you cited all your sources and I used it for my debate class or something. That is so cool. I love hearing that. Or I have a lot of folks that follow me that are on the left that watch some of these videos, and they just want they want a kind of an idea of what the other side's saying, and they like how I do my videos. If I can change that, shift that person's way of thinking in any way, that's awesome. And I've had people reach out to me saying that. And you know, like I said, it's not so much about changing the person's mind that I'm talking to, right? It's really about folks at home learning and being like, oh wow, I didn't know that. Maybe James has a point here or something like that. And you know, I don't have a estimation of how many people that's happened to, but I'm sure it's a handful. And if that's the case, I'm proud of that. Honestly, I really am.
Good.
So, yeah, that's what it's about to me.
You went to the border a couple months ago. What made you want to do that? Were you nervous?
Okay, so I've done videos in the past talking about border under Trump. Mainly my argument revolves around the environment that it creates. I mean, it's disgusting. And you have conversations with people that know all about this stuff, and they'll tell you, I mean, you know, you have children that get tossed over rafts because they're inconvenient, or maybe they're crying and the coyote doesn't want to get caught, so they just toss them in the water and they drown. You know, 3-year-olds, because they're inconvenient. You know, these people are products that are being brought across the border. They're quite. It's a very lucrative business. You know, smuggling people across the border. It's a very lucrative business for cartels. You know, African immigrants they're charging them like $20,000 or something. Your average Mexican, I forgot exactly what it is. I think it's around 4,500 or so.
What?
But
wow.
Yeah, and they're generating.
It's like somebody's life
millions.
savings. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're generating. Oh yeah, it's life savings for sure. And they're generating millions per day, I believe, for sure millions. But and it's these people are being treated like not even as valuable as cattle, honestly, to these cartels. I mean, they treat them like absolute dirt. Once they have them across the border, they'll throw them over a border wall or a fence. It'd be a 3-year-old getting tossed over a 20-foot fence, something like that, because they just don't care about them. They're getting their money, they got their payday, and they don't give a crap. A lot of these kids, they'll be used for drug smuggling, they'll be sexually abused, they'll be physically abused, etc. So I decided when they got rid of, or when they re-implemented catch and release, which is the biggest joke ever. And catch and release, for people that don't know, is literally you get caught and then you get released in the United States and it says, hey, come back for your court date. What a joke. And so when they re-implemented that under Biden's administration, I decided to go down there because numbers started skyrocketing, right? We're talking about 20-year highs month after month of illegal crossings into the United States. And these people are not, the overwhelming majority are not afraid to get caught. They go straight to Border Patrol because they know that's their ticket into the United States. They have nothing to worry about at all. In the Biden administration, they lifted all these policies, the Trump era policies, that started to get everything under control in 2019 and then 2020. It was really getting under control, and it was really working. We didn't have people seeking asylum at our border. They were seeking asylum like in Mexico, the remain in Mexico policy. So we didn't have swarms, hundreds of thousands of people. We didn't have swarms of people coming up to the border to seek asylum. They had to do it elsewhere, which totally keeps our border under control. And yeah, we're seeing 170,000 plus migrants show up per day that are illegally crossing into the United States. Keep in mind, generally speaking, if you want to seek asylum, you go to a legal point of entry. They just walk straight into the country. And so I went down to Texas, and you stay up till 4 a.m. at night, and you're seeing caravans of 150 plus people just casually walking into the United States. Now,
Wow.
It's shocking, and this is another thing that I kind of gravitate towards this type of reporting. This is another thing that the mainstream media is completely ignoring. Like, oh, hey, don't worry about it. There's only 170,000 people coming across.
Yeah, I've seen you and Savannah Hernandez. I don't know if you were there at the same time, but like you guys are the only two people I've seen.
Yeah, there's a hand. So there's Julio Rosas, there's George Ventura, there's Anthony Cabasa. Those are a few names that people can check out if they want to see great reporting on the southern border. But yeah, Savannah went, I went, and just kind of showing America what is going on down there, what's really happening. And what's really happening is a small city is coming across illegally into our country every single month, 170 plus thousand. That is insane. I don't know what school districts these kids are going into. I don't know. It's. I mean, everyone's pretty much the majority of these people are being let into the country. It seems like an odd thing to accept after 2020, where low-wage workers largely got affected by COVID lockdowns, right? That was the majority of people that got affected. Well, where are these people going to go work, right? Because we have a bunch of Americans that lost their jobs, a bunch of Americans that still aren't working, and then we're bringing in 150,000 plus a month of illegal immigrants that they're presumably going to be taking positions that are low-wage earning positions. It's just the biggest punch in the face to Americans and low wage earners all across the country. You bring in, and maybe it's beneficial for corporations. Hey, great, more cheap labor. They don't care. They don't care that they're destroying those lower wage jobs, maybe for high schoolers or people like that. And it was certainly something to show to the American people, get it out there. And most Americans don't support this. For some reason, it's just kind of elite Democrats that are anti. It's always chasing like America Last policies. So it's like anti-America elite Democrats and maybe pro cheap labor corporate Republicans that support this stuff. Most Americans do not support 170,000 plus illegal immigrants coming into the country per month.
That's insane. It's like, and why do they tend to vote Democrat? Just because like that's who's going to give them I don't know, the benefits, I guess.
I think Democrats have largely done and by the way, I'm not sure, like when these people they know, yeah, the Hispanic community largely votes Democrat. We do have media outlets that are catching like what do you call it? Gaining ground. El American's one of them. Anthony Cabasa, one of my very good friends, works for El American. That's a conservative news outlet, Hispanic, news outlet. They do Spanish, and they're tackling what is it? Is it Univision and what's the other one?
Oh yeah, Telemundo.
Yeah, and so they're going after Telemundo because keep in mind in this country we have Telemundo. Telemundo is incredibly, for people that don't know, Telemundo is incredibly far left. It's like a MSNBC for the Latino community, and I think the left has done a fantastic job, in my opinion, at reaching that community. They usually go for trying to dominate sectors that benefit them in every way, right? They have education or something like that, where your kid goes to college and leaves college being like, hey, dismantle individual rights, dismantle capitalism, stuff like that. You're like, where the hell, like, what's going on here?
Where'd this come from? Yep.
Yeah, I thought you were going to learn over there, not get indoctrinated by some communists. But it's they've done an incredibly effective job reaching the Latino community. I don't think Republicans have done that great of a job. They'll tell, hey, Republicans are racist, all this stuff. When the truth is, the Latino community in the United States and just across the world, they tend to be pretty culturally conservative. They have way more in
Yeah, the
common.
values align more
Yeah,
religious, more like they care
way
about
more in
family.
common with America's right wing. Way, way, way more in common. And I just think that the Republican Party or conservatives just haven't done that good of a job reaching them in general. I don't know.
Yeah. And maybe they're learning that lesson. Did we talk about this already? Can you ask James what he thought of Minneapolis? Any funny, sad experiences there?
Minneapolis.
Funny, sad.
Okay, Minneapolis. So I was in Minneapolis. I was in Minneapolis just for, and hopefully I don't know exactly what they're referring to. But any experience. I've been in Minneapolis a handful of times.
Weren't there riots there?
Yeah, so I went to riots for oh gosh, what's the young man's name that was accidentally killed? Oh geez, I'm spacing. Anyways, I'll remember it here. I'll remember it here in a second.
What city?
So I went to Mission Center, which is just outside of Minneapolis, and I was in Mission Center. Yeah, that was one of my first times going live on TV at a riot where I have tear gas going out and everything like that. I take off my gas mask and there's tear gas happening in Mission Center. And that place saw full on looting. That place got completely wrecked and it was looted for about 2 nights. And for anyone that's close to Mission Center, they know what I'm talking about. I'll remember the individual's name in a second. But this happened maybe a handful of months ago. And we saw full shopping centers, and this is like a small place, Mission Center, very, very small place, and it's a relatively small city, and their whole shopping center completely destroyed. Their Walmart wrecked, businesses surrounding it wrecked, windows shattered, everything like that, and yeah, that's the only experience I've really had in Minneapolis. Pretty scary. There was a right outside of the police department where we were. There ended up being a shooting happening right next to us, which I filmed. It was a drive-by shooting of 2 cars chasing each other. I don't think I've ever really experienced that until I went to Mission Center. So yeah, there was a drive-by shooting. I was with Julio Rosas at the time from Town Hall Media, and we were sitting there hearing these pop-offs, and on a night of rioting and stuff like that, you hear people lighting off fireworks, you hear riot control canisters going off from police, you hear all this stuff. And so we started hearing pops, and I was kind of looking around like, what's going on? And we noticed 2 cars were chasing each other right next to us. I mean, maybe 20 yards or so, 30 yards. And yeah, it was actually people shooting at each other in the neighborhood. So we got in cover. But yeah, pretty crazy place. Really good people in Minneapolis. Minnesota is a great place. Really good people. Unfortunately, they've been hit really, really hard with with crime. I know in Minneapolis, they defunded police last year. Minneapolis itself has seen a rise in, I think, their 48% increase in homicides this year. So yeah, wrong time to defund the police. Bad idea. But yeah, I've been there a handful of times. I was there for the Chauvin trial. Handful of demonstrations for BLM, like demonstrations where they're marching around the city. That stuff remained peaceful, of course. Pretty aggressive rhetoric, anti-police rhetoric, etc. But no, I've in Minneapolis itself, I've only been there during pretty peaceful demonstrations. So thanks for the question.
Oh yeah, thanks. I think that was at the Admiral. Just like me, you were there on January 6th, and in one of your videos, you were asking, you're doing like man on the street, like does the average person think that Trump like incited the insurrection? And it was, most people were saying yes, and they were like, and it was amazing because they were just, did you find that these people were catching themselves just repeating what they had heard on the mainstream media?
Yeah, so that's one of my I call them Let's Talk videos. They're a little bit more upfront, straightforward, a little bit more like debate style, but really the goal is to get my point out. And I thought it was that video certainly exposed that people believe he should have been charged with or convicted of, inciting insurrection is what it was. And they don't really know why, right? and unfortunately for them, the law doesn't really work that way. There's a few key requirements that are required to, convict someone of inciting violence, and he did not meet those standards at all. And so, even Trump said during his speech on January 6th, was saying, "Hey, we're going to go over there and peacefully and patriotically make our voices heard." That's literally what he said. That's a direct quote. Yeah. And oh, check that out. We got an ad right there.
I'm not even going to click this.
You don't want to fill it out? What is
I don't even want to participate. This guy was so passionate.
Okay, but here's the crazy thing. So this guy right here, that turned out to be a teacher.
Of course it did.
Yeah, of course it did. So that turned out to be a teacher from the high school that I attended. I was not aware of this. And this video started going, it started making its rounds around Southern California and stuff. And parents were livid because this guy was
look at all his views.
Well, how you doing?
Pretty good. Yeah, like over 59,000.
Yeah. That one. Yeah.
You're like, I could do better. Aw.
Yeah. That guy was one of the least pleasant people remember we were talking about, hey, do people ever get on your nerves? He was brutal. He was so incredibly rude.
He's insufferable. Yeah.
And when I discovered that he was a teacher, I never released his name, but I did let local people know what school he taught at. One reason why I did that, and that was maybe a controversial thing that I did. I didn't release his name or anything like that, but I wanted people that send their kids to these schools to know who's teaching their freaking children. And I'm sorry, but the left does not just get to absolutely dominate education in every aspect of education and not be challenged. It's like you guys go so far. This guy's a straight up Marxist that was saying he wanted to see Donald Trump naked on an island. What did he say? Like starve and die.
We can listen. Stuff. Here we go.
Naked on this island, and we would get
Hold on, what a psycho.
Credit card. He wouldn't be able to go shopping.
Take his credit card.
Naked on this island.
How is this his first thought?
To watch this pusillanimous piece of die.
Okay, well that's aggressive. And your fantasy of Donald Trump another time. What's going on, everyone? James.
Oh my God.
Okay, one quick note. This went over my head at the time, but he said take away his credit card, no shopping, put him on an island. Why is there a mall on this island? That's
why would we do that? Yeah.
Why is there a mall on this island that this man is placing Trump in his fantasy? That makes absolutely no sense. But this guy, oh my gosh, he was just so brutal the whole time. And so I let people, see that were local and stuff, and it sparked a lot of outrage. I knew he was not going to get fired because I know how that stuff. I know how the school system works and whatnot. But I did want to let teachers know, and it's so funny. I got so many people. Oh well, cancel culture. The right. You're trying to cancel him. I never called for him to be fired.
No.
And it's so funny because they will allow these crazy people to teach your kids, and they don't care because that person's on their side, regardless if they're Marxist or how far left they are. I mean, these people are just like in the sky with how far left they're becoming. And if you challenge that or you call it out, they go after you. It's like, you're going after me when this guy's talking like this, and this guy teaches children. We're talking about high school. We're talking about young kids. Like, this guy teaches children, and you're going after me for exposing him or calling him out. There's this meme that I saw a long time ago, and it's like I think about it all the time. You ever do that? You think about like a meme all the time?
All the time. All I do is think about memes.
It's amazing. And there's this possum in a trash can, right? And he has his head out of the trash can, and the caption is, "Don't touch my garbage!" ! That's literally what I feel like they've done that with these totally insane teachers. It's like, hey, that's my garbage. That's my garbage. Do not touch it. And it's like, you guys can't just take over the entire school system, implement Marxist ideas, indoctrinate children, and do that without being challenged.
They're drunk with power.
That's not how it works. Sorry.
The more teachers I meet, the more I'm like, oh, you guys love power. You love having the final say. You love being able to tell people what to do. It's like-
Also, let me clarify, because there's going to be teachers that are watching this that are going to be like, screw you, James. I'm a good teacher. Yes, there are great teachers out there. I have a lot that follow me, and I love you guys so much. I'm sure a lot of you guys, I'm sure, Chrissy, you have a lot of teachers that follow you.
Oh yeah, my
However,
sister's a teacher.
love that. But most teachers will probably 100% of teachers that are conservative will certainly say, yes, I'm outnumbered. I'm surrounded by lunatics. I hear these stories all the time, so that's why I'm so confident in saying that.
Yeah, they feel like they can't, like it doesn't matter what they say because they're just simply outnumbered. Let me see if I missed anything interesting this guy said.
Insurrection on January 6th.
So bad.
Did, and if you don't believe it, then you're brainwashed. You're an
Wow.
idiot.
So where did he
It's
call
so much
for them to go and do
projection.
that? Where did he call for them to breach the Capitol building?
Oh my God.
No, just tell me.
Oh my God. And an ad.
Yo,
It's all right. Epic Times. We'll let it stay.
I'm
Okay.
just thankful to be monetized.
Maybe we should agree on the definition
All right,
of
this is this
insurrection,
guy
or do you
again.
know-
I really just loved
Let me
this
know if
one
you agree
guy.
with this
I'm going back to
These
him.
are two completely different things.
He told them
Yeah.
to go to the Capitol.
Okay, to peacefully and patriotically make their voices heard.
No, he did not.
Yes, that's
What a
quote from him.
fucking
You're asking a
idiot.
question, but then you're arguing with my response. He said it was going to be
Point
wild.
of that.
He said it was
I
gonna
thought he
be
was gonna
wild.
hit you.
What did he mean by that?
How is that? How are you just chalking that up to incitement of violence?
I
To
didn't-
incite, you have to encourage
I-
people
I
to
said he
engage in
incited the
unlawful behavior.
insurrection. I did not say he incited violence.
An insurrection
I
is a
think that was- I
violent
think that was
uprising
up
against
to-
government.
Not necessarily.
Absolutely.
And like you were saying,
Yeah, it's
no,
just
it's not a violent uprising. Like, what do you mean? It's literally the definition.
it's like so hard to watch. They just like contradict themselves over and over again. Why do you think even now, like 6 months later, January 6th is still such a hot topic? Like I just did Megyn Kelly's show. It came out on Monday. It came up in our conversation. I was like, hey, I was there. From what I saw, it was pretty chill. And of course, that's what like all the news outlets isolate. Like it's me saying that January 6th was pretty chill. But like if I hadn't seen any of the photos or video footage from my perspective, it was, I didn't see any of that stuff going down. So I don't know.
Okay, why is it still being talked about? It's because it's the only right-wing riot that's ever happened, and that's all they needed to fill their headlines. There's no more Trump. Their chew toy is gone. COVID's, people don't really care about COVID that much. That chew toy is gone. However, they are trying to revive it. I don't know if you've
Oh,
seen
the
it. They're trying-
variants.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh, they're like money.
Yep.
But their chew toy's gone. Their doll that they beat the crap out of is gone. And January 6th is that new one. I mean, there's headline. It's still making headline news. January 6th. Like, who doesn't know almost everything about January 6th? I mean, one thing. There's a handful of things that should be investigated. I think either the government dropped the ball in every way, shape, or form, or it's some sort of sabotage plan. I don't know what it was, but with National Guard not arriving. I mean, they arrived at like 6 p.m. at the Capitol building. There was a lot of other incidents that happened that would probably take too long to talk about. But January 6th, what's funny is like, I hear what you're saying. You say, oh, it was pretty chill. And I've never had a day where I can agree with that, but I can also agree that there was really bad stuff that happened as well. So I showed up. I saw the initial breach and I was like, oh, this isn't good.
I think you were on the opposite side of the building of me.
Yeah, I was kind of all over a little bit, but I was on the Senate side of the building. So that is, I don't know how to
North,
that.
maybe? Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I'm still getting used to learning my DC kind of.
Yeah.
Like, I don't. So I showed up. There's a crowd of, you're talking, I mean, it must have been hundreds of thousands of people, right? It must have been hundreds of thousands of people. And I'm hearing noise that I'm very familiar with after going to a lot of these events, stuff like that get out of hand. And I'm hearing riot control canisters go off, tear gas canisters go off. They have a very distinct sound. I know exactly what they sound like. And I was like, uh-oh, that's a problem. So I'm running through a crowd. And this crowd, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people, most likely. I don't know if there was ever a count on it, but it was insane amount of people.
Yes,
talking about-
a few people estimated like 1.5 million at one point that were there just on that day.
Oh, it was so many. It for sure. It must have been like a million. I mean, it was so many people. And you're talking about grandmas. You're talking about a bunch of a lot of old Asian folks that were behind Trump.
Yes,
I think
a lot of people speaking out.
anti-communist movement.
Yep.
Yeah. And just a crazy amount of people. All these people aren't doing anything wrong. They're hanging out there. They're chilling. They're showing up, and they're doing basically exactly what they thought that they would be doing, is peacefully and patriotically making their voices heard. Let their voices be heard. Now, where the misbehaving was obviously up at the Capitol building. I knew this, so I was charging there while I was running. I taking off my gas mask and everything because I bring that stuff, or putting on my gas mask because I bring all that stuff with me when I go. And spicy tear gas just doesn't feel good. Honestly, you get over it.
You've been sprayed with tear gas before?
Oh, it's just like the worst. Yeah, it's just like fire in your lungs. So gas mask on, running up. Yeah, I mean, let's not deny, and maybe this will like upset people, but let's not deny people literally beating the crap out of cops. Also, on the other side, there were people that were saying, get the hell off these officers. What are you doing standing up for them? So there were people that were completely misbehaving that day. There were also the overwhelming majority of people that were absolutely not. And, when I was there was a lot of people just kind of casually walking into the Capitol. But then on another part of the Capitol, there would be like a battle with police with a few a handful of bad apples. It's the most confusing day to explain ever because I was there. I was filming it. I was filming them breaking into the Senate side of the building, full on breaking the doors. Right.
Wow.
That's bad. Right. That's bad. Okay. So I'm not going to say that that's like, hey, heck yeah. Like, no, that is bad. But you walk 40 feet away and there's a group of like moms praying and hanging out. And you're like, I'm looking around because I've been to riots before, and I'm looking around like, what is going on?
These don't
here?
go together. Yeah.
Like what is happening? So that's why this day is so complicated, right? And I don't know, maybe I just look at it as, yeah, hey, everyone that beat up officers and stuff, put them in jail. Okay. But as for all this other stuff, they try to the media is really doing their best to try to take this absolute minority of individuals and paint every person on the right with just one broad brushstroke. Yeah, that doesn't really work out very well. I mean, they didn't like when we were doing that with BLM, and there would be, let's just compare damage really quick. Maybe $1 million of damage on the Capitol. Maybe $1 million of damage.
That, yeah.
Handful of injuries. Got
to get a new podium. Got to clean off.
People are going to get mad at me if I don't mention the deaths. But even mainstream media, left-wing media has showed that I forgot Officer Sicknick was not murdered that day. You can go if you don't believe me, you can go check out. Mainstream media outlets have covered that, and they did not cover that truthfully at first. That's the whole, hey, let's try to get away with this lie and just jump to our conclusion that works for our political beliefs. Yeah, we knew that there was no evidence of that from the beginning. So they corrected that finally, which is that's at least good. But they run with this day, and they run with it because the right really, and there's a lot of people that believe it was sabotaged. Could be, but really, I saw Trump supporters, full faces exposed, engaging in behavior that's not good, right? So regardless, there were absolutely bad apples in that group. Maybe people have brought up, oh, infiltrators, stuff like that. I don't know, probably, but also I do want to point. There were bad apples that were Trump supporters in that group as well. And the mainstream media will run with this for probably the next couple of years. This is their ticket to 2022. They're not going to let go of this forever. And it's almost comical to me. You have the mainstream media that was absent in the riots of 2020, where there was $1 billion of property damage, 700 officer injuries, 20 to 25 deaths related to these riots, these BLM and Antifa riots, some of the most violent riots we've seen in the last couple decades. And here they are with one riot that the right really, we handed this one to the mainstream media, and that's all they needed. All they needed was one. All they needed was one, because they dominate the mainstream media. We know how that stuff goes. So they're not going to be talking about the $1 billion of property damage. They're going to be talking about the $1 million of property damage at the Capitol, and they're going to run with that till 2022. It doesn't make sense, no, but they dominate the media and they dominate the narrative. You know what I mean?
Did you see anything sketchy, and did you see anything that would make you think that this was a false flag perpetrated by the FBI, that the people who looked like genuine Trump supporters were operatives, the folks in charge of these groups, like the 3%ers or the Oath Keepers, that they were infiltrated? Like, is there anything that you saw on the ground that maybe looked a little funny to you?
Well, I think a lot of the funny information kind of came out a little bit after, because I was there. And by the way, like, because I know people might get upset about maybe like, oh, there's definitely Trump supporters there, because we're not talking about what your question's about. So thanks for bringing that up. But I think it's really hard to say, because the FBI knew about this in advance, and they didn't bother, getting Trump involved or notifying anybody. They didn't bother doing any of this. So
there was no security, and it was a planned march point for
they called for
long
additional
time.
security, and they were rejected. Pelosi rejected that. They called for there was countless screw ups, and I'm going to use the word screw up because either it was a screw up on literally like 4 different levels of government. Hey, possible. I would say more unlikely. Or it was a full-on kind of sabotage plan where they knew about all this stuff happening, decided, hey, well, it's going to be good for us.
Yeah,
it's going to be good for us if this gets out of control. I don't know. I'm not going to say, I'm just kind of speculating here, but they had everything to gain, and I mean everything, from a January 6th happening. They had everything to gain and nothing to lose. They had absolutely nothing to lose. Same with it's similar to the COVID lockdowns, right? There was a point where none of this stuff was scientific when it comes to the extent of the COVID lockdowns, the schools, children, everything like that. Children were never major carriers of COVID-19.
Right.
Hopefully I can bring that up.
All the major airlines kept going. You could at just about any point sit on a packed plane.
Just like January 6th, and I'm not trying to change the conversation here. Just like January 6th, they had everything to gain from continued lockdowns and a destroyed economy. I think January 6th was the icing on the cake, the cherry on top, really. And I personally, I didn't see anything crazy suspicious. I would say the people that were less suspicious were the people that had their faces exposed. If I had to guess, those were probably Trump supporters that were just maybe a little bit
wrapped up.
Like just making a dumb move, because like the reason why Antifa gets away with everything is because they cover up. They know, and maybe they're just more used to committing crime than right-wingers are.
They know they're going to do something bad, so they plan.
Yeah, and by the way, I do not think that just walking into the Capitol building is something that should be, oh my God, it's the biggest attack on democracy since like slavery. Like I don't know, like that's absurd, right? I would see a lot of people just casually walking in on one side of the building, like I said, seemed pretty mellow. Riot police chilling right there, just watching them go in. I have it on. I filmed it. I put it on social. You're kind of looking at that like, huh, like that's a little weird. And then you go to the other side, and they're trying to break open the door. I didn't see anyone attacking officers on that side, on the Senate side of the building. Breaking the door, yeah, it's pretty spooky, right? It's going to be you're looking for like conflict with police if you're doing something like that. However, even that is not. I mean, it's not the worst thing I've ever seen at a riot.
Right.
I've seen officers getting attacked at riots. I've seen all this stuff. We've seen blocks get burnt down. We've seen blocks get absolutely destroyed, demolished, everything looted. I mean, we've seen
whole police stations set on fire.
Oh yeah, we've seen it all. They want to try to sell you this idea that a bunch of people stormed the Capitol with rifles and lit the place up, Molotov cocktails left and right, total war scene.
Yeah, no weapons.
It wasn't that way, and they'll try to paint it like that. However, if you kind of remind people, hey, everyone was unarmed, handful of people misbehaved. absolutely no doubt. It was not good. There were parts of it that were really not good, and then there were parts of it where you're looking around and you're, like I said, seeing a bunch of old ladies praying 40 feet away. You're like, what? It was the most confusing day of my life personally, and that's why I almost had trouble talking about it, because every single time I say something, I have another thing to add to it, right? Hey, crazy people right here, totally mellow people over here to my left.
Yeah, things don't really add up. And then especially afterwards, we see
the weirdest day of my life.
John in the chat, I was just going to mention this. Yeah, several of the arrested protesters have been proven to be Antifa and BLM activists as well. Like that John Sullivan guy who like immediately went on CNN that night. So that's fishy to me.
Absolutely correct. I'm glad he brought that up. That's very true. And John Sullivan's, if you watched his live streams, he was inciting violence. I don't think he's I don't think he got seriously charged though. I forgot what his charge was. But he was inciting violence. He was like, hell yeah, keep going, blah, 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 like stoking the flame. There's no doubt that there was a handful of Antifa people there. No doubt at all. A lot of their Antifa-friendly reporters were there. I recognized some of them. However, there's also no doubt that a lot of them were also Trump supporters. And I think there's a lot of new information coming out about operatives, people that worked with the FBI. I don't want to touch on that too much, just because I haven't spent that much time.
Things are still developing too there,
and things are also still developing to where I think more truth will be exposed. I think more truth will be exposed, and I think it's yes, let's keep the pressure on, let's keep looking into it. But I think it may just start to slowly expose itself as time goes on. One thing we know for certain is the day didn't make much sense. Too much government incompetence, and it was the perfect disaster for them. So, yeah, that's really it.
It was like everything they needed. It's a big old trap.
Everything they needed. Yep.
We fell right into it. I'm really excited to watch this new video of yours, James, about what people think of the American flag, or why it seems like the masses now think of it as a partisan object, I guess, or a symbol of hate, which is insane.
It's gonna be good.
Is it out yet, or it's coming out?
So it'll go up tomorrow on Newsmax. I'm gonna post it. We're gonna do a short version of it. We'll probably have a panel discussion, stuff like that. I don't know the exact time, so I'm very sorry. But if people want to see that video, and it's an important video because this really shows your average American. Literally, I mean, we asked probably like 15 people or 20 people or something like that. It's not hard to find people that believe, yep, that's a Republican over there, because who would be patriotic? What an idiot! Like that's their stance. That's their opinion, and it's shocking to see this stuff on video. It really is, and the video pretty much went the exact way that I thought it would. It's not like I was seeking people out for this crazy response. I go there on the street and I ask, hey, quick thing for you, quick thing for you, quick thing for you. And those are just the responses that we get. And it's really unfortunate that it's that easy to find that response from folks on the left. I will be posting, I'll be updating everybody on when that video is coming out on my, social media, Real James Klug at Twitter, or on Twitter, and then James Klug, KLUG, on Instagram. I'll be notifying people of that. But the full video will be posted on Newsmax's social media, YouTube channel, and Facebook page and stuff. So.
Awesome. And how did you get to work with Newsmax? Did you kind of like reach out to them, or did they discover you?
Well, I think I was very fortunate to have the I believe the CEO was watching some of the videos, Chris Ruddy.
Oh, that's great.
And yeah, and he decided he enjoyed them, and which is, I mean, a huge compliment, and I was very flattered by that. That's really cool. And they had reached out to me early on to just get some of my videos on TV and stuff, and obviously that's a cool opportunity. So originally I was a correspondent. No, I'm getting this wrong. Words are hard. I was a contributor.
Okay, whatever, same thing.
Originally I was a contributor, so I would do my videos on my end and just send them whatever I get whenever I get stuff. And now I'm an official correspondent with Newsmax. I'm a content creator for Newsmax, and we're doing our own segment, which I'll be announcing here soon. I I haven't even told like my personal followers that we're doing that stuff. So hey, we're
Oh,
announcing
oh
here,
my
Chrissie.
God. Exclusive.
Hey.
Pew, 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 pew. James, yeah, everybody go follow James, follow his YouTube channel. I will have all of his handles in the details below. Yeah, thank you for coming on and chatting with me. It was great to meet you a couple weeks ago. Hopefully we'll bump into each other again or at a riot or something. No, I probably wouldn't go. I don't want to get hit.
I'll invite you to a riot. You know, it's a great time, really peaceful.
Yeah,
Or
just
mo-
a
it'll
mostly
be-
peaceful one. Yeah,
it'll be a mostly peaceful riot. That's when I'll invite you. Yeah.
that sounds good. James, thank you so much for coming on.
Chrissie, thank you so much for having me. Really appreciate it.
This is great. Bye.